Well, good evening. As Andy mentioned, yes, I flew out to Portland yesterday for some business meetings and flew back today and braved traffic and got here. Vacation's tomorrow, so in about 15 hours, my family and I will be on the beach. But very pleased to be speaking with you today. And also want to thank, I've got my family here today, and also one of my mentors, Tommy Morrill, and his wife, Kim. And I'm going to share today about an African-American perspective of the new economic playing field. And I want to emphasize a perspective, right? The African-American community is not monolithic in our thoughts and opinions. There are many different stitches that make up the fabric of our culture. And so what I'm going to share today is kind of a swath of that fabric in my perspective. I'm here tonight on behalf of Transcendence. I've been a board member and been volunteering to the organization for over 12 years. My profession, I work for an enterprise software company. My job is to manage relationships, to manage complex sales cycles, to conduct business transactions with large enterprise accounts that are typically $1 billion and above. And tonight I'll be speaking from my personal perspective and my role with Transcendence. Okay, 1 second. Oh, there we go. So, founders of our organization, this is Willie and Arlene Thompson. Transcendence was founded in 1987, and it was really out of the wanting to help kids. They started off with being foster parents. They had a special needs child, and they wanted to have a way to help more kids in the community. So what they did was they started a nonprofit in 1987 and began providing direct services for foster care, for group homes, and as well for mental health services. And the concept of Mrs. Thompson was she wanted to be able to pull the weeds out of the lives of kids, wanted to be able to provide, nurture fresh soil for them to grow their future. So they took their first names, Willie and Arlene, and called it Willie's, and Regrowth Center to represent the regrowth and regrowing the future of our kids. They retired to North Carolina in 2004, and in 2008 we changed our mission slightly. We changed our mission to go from direct services to provide more specific services and programs and develop our own programs and collaborate with other community-based organizations to do things that would impact the lives of individuals in underserved communities. Here is a couple pictures of some of the programs we do. In the top, you see Inspire Technology Summit, which is held at Harvey Mudd College. What we do there is we bring CIOs and technology leaders from various and diverse backgrounds, and we engage them directly with high school kids. We give them the opportunity to participate in workshops and development activities to inspire the next generation of technology leaders, and primarily with African American, Latino, and Asian communities. The bottom is Limitless, the bottom left-hand corner. That's a program we started with the help of the CIO from Jacobs Engineering, Cora Carmody, and she works with a lot of children in San Diego, a lot of female young girls, a program called Tech Goddesses, and the program is designed to help young girls stay engaged in technology with summer camps and different programs that happen throughout the year. We created this program with Microsoft where we provide a workshop for 5th through 8th graders to work directly with technology and to understand that there's limitless potential in career opportunities in technology. The gentleman on the right is Dr. Renford Reese. He is a Cal Poly Pomona professor. And he came to us in 2008 with the concept of wanting to have a Reintegration Academy. So he wanted to take ex-offenders and put them on the college campus and help reintegrate them into society by offering a 10-week course around things like education, job training, life skills, and give a vehicle for those that have taken a wrong step giving them a pathway back into society. So this is one of our biggest programs. You'll find this in quite a few of the local campuses, Cal Poly and other campuses across Southern California. And they've also taken the next step where they are doing this inside of the prisons. They're taking volunteers and they're going inside of the prisons to educate individuals and prepare them for when they become released into society. Question, and as I go through this and we talk about some of the causes and the challenges that affect the African American community, it's going to be interactive. I'm going to ask some thought-provoking questions. The first question I have for you is, who said this? The opportunity gap is the defining issue of our time. Jeb Bush, right? This quote here, income inequality is a serious problem that affects, that is plaguing our country. That was spoken by no other than Mitt Romney. So you might be surprised by that, right? And I'm not here to, question their political motives, or to rep elephants or the donkeys and get into that political battle. But the point is that everybody is talking about it. Everybody is talking about it because economic inequality is affecting not just the lower class, but the middle classes as well. We learned, for those of you that had the opportunity to visit the first session, it was very impactful. We learned a lot of things. We learned that inequality is passed on to a great extent from generation to generation. We learned that inequality inhibits the economic growth of our country, and talked a lot about how this company has moved from being a manufacturing economy to a technology and services-driven economy. We also talked about how the routine is becoming marginalized and the non-routine are the things that are progressing and are becoming more valuable in today's economy. Just cover a little bit about the disparity within the African American community as it compares to white America. You will see certain things of medium income. We make about 20,000 less. Prison population is 7 times higher. 7%, that's almost 10% of the African American population is in prison. That's almost, and if you look at African American males, it's about 1 out of 6. And so all the other statistics, we live shorter, less in higher earning positions, and unemployment is twice as high. Okay, and any good doctor that is going to prescribe a cure for a patient is going to first look at the root cause, right? They're going to look at what are the conditions, what are the things that happen, and everything along the way to make the proper prescription of how to provide the remedy or the cure for that patient. So one of the things that we have to address and look at are the impacts of things like slavery. So for example, the breakup of the family structure. And this started from the first set of cruises that left West Africa to South America, Caribbeans, and to the US. It continued at the auction blocks, right? Where families were broken up. Male, mother, father, sons, daughters were split up. It also continued as life on plantations. And think about this, being a married man and not having the ability to protect your wife from abuse or rape. So all of these things have an impact and speak to the journey of African Americans in this country. And then we have things like the fact that we're not connected directly with language, right? We lost our language. We lost our identity to a specific country. And hopefully most of you know Africa is not a country, right? Some people don't know that. And so, we don't have like other ethnic groups that come to this country. They still have that connection to a specific country. Institutionalized literacy. In many cases, literacy was forbidden and spurned. And so as we became emancipated, we have breakup of the family, we have breakup of uneducated society, And if we learn that economic inequality transfers from generation to generation, we start off being emancipated, being at a state of economic inequality. Other thing I'd like to cover also is discrimination. So once we became emancipated, there's discrimination that took place in terms of accessing jobs, accessing communities. I don't have time to go into it tonight, but you can do a lot of research about African Americans trying to get involved and connected to certain communities, and discrimination in housing, in lending, and outright prevention of African Americans from migrating into certain communities. This is a picture. This is a infamous, Omaha courthouse lynching that took place in 1999. So what happened here was 1899. No, it's 1999. 1919. 1919. And at the time, a lot of African Americans were migrating from the South to places like Omaha and other places. And this gentleman was accused of rape, Will Brown. He was taken to the courthouse. A mob of 250 people came to the courthouse and decided that due process wasn't necessary, and tried to extract him from the courthouse. The mayor showed up and, to his credit, tried to protect him. He got beat up, almost got killed. And they took him, they hung him by a lamppost. After he died, they shot him up, riddled his body with bullets. After they riddled his body with bullets, they took a noose around his neck, they tied it to a back of a police car, drove it around the community, and then finally they burnt his body and took photo ops, right? And so these kind of things happen over and over again. Tuskegee University documented, these are the documented ones, about 4,733 acts of lynching, acts of terror against African Americans. And so it really, it's not just, wasn't for crimes, right? It was for being accused of crimes. It was for vagrancy. It was for loitering. It was for improper glances could get you lynched. We also have to look at disparity within the justice system. There was a study done by the CDC, Center for Disease and Control, that took a survey of high school kids, and they asked them questions about crimes that they committed, things about fights, marijuana, carrying a weapon to school, things like that. And what they found is that between all the races, crimes were pretty much even. But there's a disparity in which kids are actually get prosecuted, which kids actually go through our judicial system. Here is an example of the disparity from the state of Connecticut. They did a study in 2011, and they found out that when they looked at 8 different decision points, from the police to the judicial system to the Department of Children and Family, there was 9 of those 18 decision points. There was disparity where African American and Latino were being overrepresented in certain things. Things like police writing incident reports, referring to the courts, pretrial release, all of these things. There was a big disparity between African American and white. So same crime, but different justice. This is a demographic from our prison system today. You'll notice that even though we have 13% of the population, we make up about 38% of the prison population to date. And if you look deeper, here's the graph of how America has become a state of incarceration. You had laws that began back in the Nixon era, war on drugs, and as well as with Reagan, and different legislation that has put more of our American citizens, and disproportionately African Americans, into prison. Pretty dramatic. also compare, even though we have this trauma in our journey, the breakup of the families, if you look at our roots going back to Africa, we were very much a family, a communal people, right? The saying of, it takes a village to raise a child. In many parts of Africa, the concept of property ownership, they didn't have it. It was all communal. It was shared. And so even as we became emancipated, we gravitated towards marriage. But what you see is around 1970, 1980, you see a dramatic increase and a separation between the amount of black men that were married compared to white men. Now, go back to that last graph, right? Causation, that doesn't automatically denote causation, but if you think about if there's a disproportionate amount of African American men in jail, how can they take care of their families? How can they be married? What is the impact on relationships? So on and so forth. And you see the same sort of trends with females as well. What does an ex-offender look like? This lady, Sherry Harris, I believe her last name is Harris, she went to jail for 20 years for killing somebody that abused her. Abused her, and she killed him, and she paid her debt by spending 20 of 40 years in jail. She was the first woman in Virginia to get her college degree. After she got out, she got a degree in biotech engineering, and she began working in the field, making about $150,000 a year and staying out of trouble. It got discovered that she had this criminal background. 2 weeks after getting a raise, she was fired. And now she can't even get a job because everywhere that she is looking for employment, because of that record, she can't get a job. So, if you think about paying your debt to society, and then once you get out, you're still paying, right? You're paying in terms of, limited access to jobs. You're paying in terms of many states being disenfranchised from voting in one way or another. And you're also disenfranchised from certain things, certain licenses and things you can apply for. Economic inequality's impact on education. So if we look at the impact on education, what are the first things that families do when they move from one community to another? One of the first things that they do is they ask about the school district. What are the API scores? Right? And that's great. I mean, my family, we've done the same thing. We have our daughter in a great school. She's in a private school. But if you don't have the means, the financial means to do that, you have limitations around your education. And so, it's important to understand that that's one of the inhibitors of eliminating or reducing economic inequality is the quality of the education that you have access to. Transitioning kind of into the new economy and where we are today and where I think the opportunities are, I'd like to ask if anyone knows what company made these quotes, right? Who thought camera phones would be rejected by corporate users? Who thought that Apple and iPhone were just upstarts that would never be successful? And who thought that tablets would not be a big thing? Anyone take a guess? Close, not quite. But you're close. Close. BlackBerry. So when I started my career in enterprise software sales, I started traveling all over the U.S. in 2000. And at the time, when you leave a meeting, say you left a meeting in Texas, and you rush to the airport and you wanted to have the ability to get your emails before you get on the plane, you'd have to find a payphone at the airport, get a wire, connect the payphone to the computer, and download all of your emails before you jumped on a plane. 2001, 2002, BlackBerry, which started off as a two-way paging company, revolutionized the communication industry by providing communications to your mobile devices. The point is that they stopped innovating. They failed to recognize the trend, the velocity of the way things were changing in our economy. And besides the president, I don't know anybody that has a BlackBerry anymore, right? Right? And so, it's important to understand that our economy has changed. The way that we do things have changed. Manufacturing in 1997, manufacturing output for the first time eclipsed manufacturing jobs. And so there is more of a, and this is caused to several things, and Andy is much more qualified to articulate it than I am, but things that affect it are things like labor resources that are cheaper overseas, and technology that is creating a way for organizations and businesses to be more efficient, especially around routine things. We live in a world today where, if you think about it, there are more mobile phones than landlines. There are more people that download music digitally than physical. When is the last time you actually went to a store to buy music? All right? Most people don't do that anymore. The most popular photo company does not make or take pictures, Instagram. The largest taxi company, Uber, doesn't own any vehicles. The most popular media company, Facebook, creates very little content, right? And so the world has changed. In a very short period of time, the world has changed as we've known it. And the proliferation of data and the ability to harness it, along with the acceleration of knowledge, has changed the way we do business in our lives forever. The question is, how do we take advantage of that? And so in the new paradigm, it's different than it was before. The most prevalent degree to become an entrepreneur is computer science and engineering. The top 10 fields that have the highest demand, over half, are STEM-related now. Except for Native Americans, we are all immigrants, every last one of us. And in this new economic playing field, there is a new wave of immigration that is taking advantage and making the most of these new opportunities. And that evolution is evident in our economy. Between 1990 and 2005, immigrants started 1/4 of all venture capital public companies in the United States. Large American firms are increasingly led by people born and have roots in foreign countries. 14 of the top 100 Fortune 100 CEOs were foreign-born in 2007. And if you look at all the business schools, about 1/3 to 1/2 of the business schools are people from foreign countries. So the ideal is, if you look at our technology companies today, you'll see that about 40 to 60% is made up of white Americans. African Americans make up about 2 to 4, 5% in some cases. The biggest, Latinos about the same. The biggest increase is in Asian population, both Asian Americans and also Asian immigrants. And they have taken advantage of some of the opportunities of foundations in math and science to fill a void that is created by this technology revolution. And so, my personal opinion is I think that math is the one universal language. I believe that there's immense opportunities for African American and other people. And I think that those opportunities are because, to a certain extent, math and technology is more objective than other industries. Right? If you have a concept, if you have something that is a unique value proposition, and it is going to improve business in some sort of way, there's opportunities to take advantage and harness it. So that's one of the ways that I see that there is a new paradigm in our economy today and ways that we can take advantage of it. Talk a little bit about the remedies. I think that we have to think differently about how we treat our ex-cons, our ex-offenders. I think that we have to provide ways to reintegrate them back to society. I think that we have to think about the laws that are established and how they're structured. And I think we have to think about the equitable application of those laws. Right? We also have to look at the development of our program, especially around education in early years. The early years are when the cognitive skills are developed. And so we have to really think about the education, the programs that we're developing, the charter schools and so forth, to address early education, especially in our underserved communities. I also personally think that mentoring is a big part of the equation as well. And not just mentoring of students, but also mentoring of parents, right? Teaching parents how to be great parents. And then, organizations like Transcendence and other organizations, we certainly need volunteers. We need people to contribute, to support, and to help us do things that are going to help those that are underserved. Income inequality and reducing it, it has a lot of effects, right? It makes our communities safer. It provides a better economy, greater tax revenue. But, I think that one of the important things is that as we think about us and we think about us contributing and being a cohesive society, at the end of the day, we are all connected. Science and religion agree that we're all related, right? You go back far enough in our history, we all have commonality. We're all connected. And I think that by leveraging and appreciating our culture, our ethnic diversity, providing opportunities for those that are disadvantaged, and reducing economic inequality makes for a more productive society as a whole. I leave you with this. Frederick Douglass said that power concedes nothing without a demand. And I think as a collective body, we have to find constructive ways to make that demand. There's an old Zulu proverb that says, if the future does not come forward, you have to go out and fetch it. And I think that we have to take control of our destiny and also create pathways for others to come behind and take those same opportunities that we have. So with that, I conclude my talk today on an African American perspective of the new economic playing field, and thank you very much for your time today. Appreciate it.